Okay, ladies and gentlemen, who's ready for story time with Georgie Wanaka? Here we go. When it comes to real estate, sometimes people don't make the most rational decisions. I'm going to give you a very specific circumstance where that happened to clients, and unfortunately, they ended up losing money.
It's Gripe Session time with your host, George Wanaka.
It's about nothing.
Discussing everything from real estate, current events, a little bit of everything, and the annoying little things that just tick you off.
You can't handle the truth.
What? You didn't know?
Here's your host, George Wanaka.
Your ass better call somebody.
So just recently, I had a client and it was a family situation. And sometimes your clients don't really pay attention to the people that they're hiring to sell their piece of property. Now, the problem with that, ladies and gentlemen, is part of the reason is you are hiring a real estate agent or a realtor in general is due to their experience with the marketplace, as well as what kind of numbers and marketing they're going to get to help you get that property sold. Now, my clients or former clients at this point, their whole purpose was to get this property sold to settle an estate. Now, never going to talk about names of people, address of people, just something that I'm not willing to do and not going to do for a lot of different reasons. Confidentiality is definitely one of those reasons. But with that being said, I can still tell you the story about the scenario that went on, and here we go. So what ends up happening is we get this property listed, we get a lot of activity on the property, and we got an offer on the property almost immediately. Now, we did list the property a little bit more aggressively, translation higher, than what the market was giving. But with that being said, we got a very, very strong and solid offer. Now, what I mean by a strong and solid offer between the price that they were offering as well as the terms of the deal, meaning their down payment, their mortgage commitment information, all of that type of stuff. It was a strong deal, or so I thought. Well, unfortunately, there were multiple people of part of this estate and matrimonial. And what ended up happening was one of the members of the estate didn't want to even give a counter offer of this initial offer, which, by the way, was very strong because they didn't want to counter the first offer. They just thought that that's the price and what it was. Now, part of my job is to counsel, but unfortunately, sometimes what happens is counsel doesn't listen. Well, the people don't listen. So, with that being said, I followed, as always, my client's wishes. We didn't counter, the buyer went away, and there we go. Now, in the interim, we had other offers on the property a few months down the road, a couple weeks down the road. None of those offers were what this initial offer was for. Now, people say, George, why do you even go down that road? Well, it's real simple. Because sometimes the first offer is the best offer that you're going to get. And by not countering, you are going to have the potential to lose maybe even more money by not countering and meet someplace in the middle. But let's go back to this scenario, shall we? So after some back and forth, no offers were agreed upon and no offers were accepted. But with that being said, unfortunately, my company ends up losing the listing, which sometimes is a good thing. And in this case, it was. Now, why? Well, because now I have content to tell everybody here. It's great. No, the reason is because sometimes you work very, very hard on listings, and any agents that watch this are going to know that. But the amount of work that you put into getting the property sold is not going to be justified by the amount of money that we make overall at the end of the day. But let's go back to this transaction. So here we have a listing that we lost that was then subsequently listed by not one, not two, but 3 different brokers. And the other 2 couldn't sell it. Until finally, the third, well now 4th person working on this listing, finally got it sold for over $50,000 less than our initial offer. Now, why, ladies and gentlemen, do I go through this with the people that watch this channel? Because you need to make sure you're listening to your real estate professional and real estate practitioners, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of them, you're supposed to be hiring these people for their expertise, their marketing skills, and their knowledge of the market. which can kind of go into expertise, right? But that's why you're supposed to be hiring these people. Not because they're Cousin Joey's friend or their Cousin Louie and they're going to do it for less of a fee. Because you see, by doing it of less of a fee, you lost $50,000 more almost a year and change later. We as professionals are trying to get our clients, acting on behalf of the seller, the most amount of money under the best terms possible. On a buyer's side, it's trying to get it doesn't mean getting it the house as a cheaper number. It means getting the best transaction for the person that's looking to do it at an affordability aspect, right? Everyone thinks buyer's agents means get it cheaper. It doesn't mean that, okay? So the reason that I tell this story is due to the fact that I want more people to be educated on the process. Stop standing on ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, because what happens if you don't pay attention to the realtor or your professional could cost you more money. And $50,000, that's a lot of money, wouldn't you say? With that being said, make sure you do something nice for somebody that you wouldn't normally do, and we'll catch you on the next video. Peace.
Thanks for listening to The Gripe Session. Please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.